Welcome to our Brown Bag series. It's part of the Smithsonian Voices and Votes exhibit at Artworks. And we've had various brown bags on different topics, and we wanted to try and catch each of the 5 sections of the exhibit. And so today we're going to be talking about citizenship. And with us we have 3 naturalized citizens and 1 who's almost naturalized. And because this exhibit is interactive, we actually have some questions from the test that we're going to ask Gustavo. So we'll save him for last. But I'm just going to let our participants introduce themselves, tell you where they were born and what brought them to the U.S., and perhaps their stories about preparing for the exam.
Hello, my name is Lilia Caserta. My maiden name was Samigulina. I'm originally from Russia. I was born in a very large town, Kazan. I came to United States on K-1 visa, which is fiancé visa, in December of 1999. I never planned to move to United States, but my fiancé at the time, John Caserta, refused to move to Russia. So I decided the women were more flexible in this adjustment to the new culture. So before coming to United States, I barely spoke any English because our language of communication was Italian. So I took 3 months of intensive English. Came to fiancés, we had 90 days to get married. We got married almost immediately. I arrived on the 17th of December. On the 21st of December, we was married. It's the last day courthouse work before Christmas break. And 3 years later, I went through the process of becoming American citizen, mainly because I really wanted to vote and have a right to vote. So I've been in Big Rapids, Michigan for now over 20-some years, made great friends here and really happy. It's my second home. However, when I'm here, I talk home as Russia. When I'm in Russia, I refer home as United States. So I'm in between 2 countries.
My name is Gustavo Rodriguez, and I'm originally from Mexico. I came to the United States 21 years ago. I came to a graduate studies program, and I love Michigan. So I decided to continue with my PhD, and now I'm in Big Rapids working at Ferry State University, and I love working here. I'm from a tiny town in Mexico, and like Lilia, when I talk about home and I'm here, I refer to Mexico, but when I'm in Mexico, I refer to home as Michigan. I'm a Michigander. What else can I say? And hopefully this year or next year, I will become an American citizen. I came here with an F1 visa 21 years ago. Then I'm working at Ferry State University as a green card holder. I'm a permanent resident now.
My name is Melissa Scheible. I am Canadian and originally from a small town called Listowel, Ontario. Probably a little bit smaller than Big Rapids, but nothing too small. I came here also on an F1 student visa. I went to Ferris and I majored in elementary education. I came in 2001 and had no intention of, I guess, ever becoming a citizen. I knew that I was going to try to get a permanent residency, but I'm a very proud Canadian. But I got married and I had babies and I became a teacher and a passionate person about this country and decided that I also wanted to have a vote and a voice, and I wanted, I guess, to have a say in the decisions that were happening around me and for my family and for my career. And so I just decided that this was what I needed to do, was become a citizen. And so I also refer to Canada as home, but here's my home too. I love it here. I didn't apply to become a citizen until I became a citizen a year and a half ago. So it took about 6 months to become a citizen of the United States. A lot of hard studying. Most American citizens that I know wouldn't be able to pass the test, I feel like. So you definitely have to earn it, and it definitely is an amazing right and a privilege to have. I also wish that every American citizen would be able to attend an oath ceremony, because it makes you really value and understand what a privilege it is to be a U.S. citizen, I would say. So, but yes, I definitely am a proud Canadian, but a proud U.S. citizen too, and I feel super lucky and blessed that I can be a part of both countries.
Okay, my name is Lucero Flores, and originally from Colombia. Cali is a big town, crazy. So moving to United States was kind of interesting because I have lived in different places. Michigan is the last one, so I came to Washington State, a small town. And I came, so they have been talking about the kind of visas that they have had, and I have had all of them. So I came here as a J1. J1 means that you are sponsored by a company, someone that hires you for a year, and then you have to go back to your country. You can have some prevention to come back or not, so I didn't have it. So I stayed here a year. I went back because I wanted to. Then I came back the following year as an F1, which is the student visa. So I decided to come back because I wanted to continue with my postgraduate studies. So I studied with my master's, then after that my PhD. Then after you finish your PhD, you had to get a new visa. So then I got the H1, which is the work visa. You again need a sponsor. And so a university sponsored me, and I started working with them. And then after a while, I applied for citizenship, and the university also sponsored me. Then after 3 years, because you had to wait around 3-5 years to apply for citizenship, after applying for residency, which is the green card holder, I applied for citizenship a year and a half ago, and I got it in the summer of 2019. So it was everything that started with COVID. But she said that it took her 6 months. It took me exactly a year, the whole process to become a citizen. So I remember applying in August 2018, went through all the process, several things that you had to do, and then got my oath ceremony in the summer of 2018. I totally agree with, what's your name?
Melissa.
With Melissa, that every American should go to witness how some people really are so happy at that exact moment. See, Gustavo and another friend, an American friend, I mean, not like Gustavo is not American, but an American friend, he went and he was more touched than I was.
Yeah.
He said, Lucero, I couldn't believe all these people, all the things that they had gone through, and so how happy they are. And then they can see them, a lot of them dressed up very nicely, bring all the family, because you can bring as many guests as you want. When it's a small ceremony at that time. Now I know that they do it like a drive-through, because you cannot be in a small space with other people. But anyways, he was very impressed, and he actually cried when he saw us singing the national anthem and doing the oath ceremony. And then he was very impressed by how people were so excited about that.
Oh, well, these are wonderful stories. And Melissa was telling me ahead of time here about her study group that she had, and that they became quite the social group. And they get together to study for the test. Well, since Gustavo still has to take the test, Melissa, maybe you could ask him a couple of the questions here to see how he's doing.
I haven't. I think we should ask the questions to the ones who are already American citizens, because I haven't studied.
I've been doing that to people.
Let's make something clear, because the study guide for the test has A, B, C, D.
Multiple choice.
Multiple choice, but when you go there is no multiple choice. That is just the exam in front of you. You're shaking because you don't want to make a mistake.
Do you guys remember, so when they give you the study guide, I don't know if you know this, Roxanne, but they give you 100 questions, but they only test you on 10. So it's 10 random questions, and you have to score 60% or higher. And that's just one section of the test. They also have an English test, and then, was that it?
There was a writing component, and you have to read a sentence in English to pass the test. I remember my sentence was kids played in a sandbox. And then I have to write, like, kids played on a playground. So they have to see at least that you communicate well.
Yeah.
Because next to me was a gentleman who did not speak, and the officer came over and was like, oh, you have to attend the courses and classes. They try to work with people. Yeah, so that was another kind of an element. I remember only a couple of questions. They asked me what was the 49th state in the United States, and I remember very clearly it was Alaska, because I remember 50 was Hawaii. It's my wish place, still on my bucket list to go and visit. And most difficult was the branches of government.
Well, that's one of the questions. I think the first one, isn't it? Look at
Name one branch.
Name one branch.
Okay, we'll give you. Oh, you can cheat. You
can cheat.
Let me not. Let me cheat.
So, what are the branches? You can look it up.
Congress, legislative, president, executive, the courts, and judicial. I actually learned a lot about this. I'm not totally cheating, because with everything going on and reading the news every day in the last elections, I learned a lot about the branches of...
particularly the judicial.
Yes, it was very interesting learning what goes on, especially in this political
So how many
times.
members are there to the Supreme Court?
I don't remember.
That's one of the questions.
Is one of them?
There's an odd number to make sure they never have a split vote. And it's 9, okay? It's 9. So when the last judge passed away, there was 8, and there was a kind of a actual crisis, like what happens if they have to take a vote and there's 8 people.
I think when I take the exam, we will have a study group with you guys, so I get totally prepared for my exam.
I think that would be an excellent study group for you.
I agree. Civics and government, I think that was the hardest section.
Yes.
The hardest, all the questions.
And also, I remember I had to sign the form that I was not a member of terrorist group. I was never lie on my taxes, and some other questions. There was.
That a lot of Americans can't pass.
And but there's no proof except actually what I found out from my 20 years in the Rapids. Americans are very trustworthy people. Like in Russia, if you say I'm not a member of terrorist group, they will ask you to provide some type of documents, preferably 3 testimonials of someone who can do it. They just say no, I'm not. I said okay, let's move on. In America.
In the whole process, not necessarily in the citizenship. Now that you mentioned that some Americans won't pass that. For me, it was very interesting when I applied for residency to get my green card. You had to have all the vaccines. So you had to show proof that in order to be a resident in this country, you had to have all the vaccines.
Oh, okay.
See? So that was very interesting for me. And as Gustavo said, after all these discussions that we are having and people complain about some things that they have to do. However, as a new resident, you had to show, look, I have all my vaccinations, see, since I was a kid until now. The good thing is that some of us don't have the document, but now there are ways to prove by having some tests, but then that's one of the things that you had to do to get a residency. Not the citizenship.
I was actually one of the ones that didn't have the little document. My family couldn't find it, couldn't find my records. So yes, I took some tests, and I think 4 vaccines at the time. That was interesting.
So did you vote for the first time in this past election?
Yes, I did.
I did too.
Yeah.
And wasn't it for me, it was just the most exciting day. I mean, it was awesome to obviously become a citizen, but to be able to exercise that right was just awesome.
Yeah, and not only that, to be able to vote, but like you take a piano out of your bag by being a citizen, because now you become like part of the community. Because most of the time when you don't have that citizenship, you feel a little bit refrain of doing things because you think that you don't have the right for those things. And then also the environment makes you feel that sometimes. See? And now with that paper telling you that you are a citizen, it's like I have a backup and I don't need to prove people that I deserve to be in this country and to exercise any of the rights that even as a resident I would have.
Yeah, I always encourage my students, especially freshman students, especially women, like we as women fought so hard to have a vote. No, nothing was given. Nobody came around and says, oh, you're a really nice group of citizens, just go ahead and participate. And when some of my students says they don't exercise the right to vote, I keep saying like you have to, as a citizen of your country, this is one way you can directly impact the future of your country and your own future. So I had to take full health exam because I was a fiancé. So they want to make sure I didn't have AIDS, I didn't have any sexual transmitted diseases, I was not pregnant at the time. So that was a very unpleasant procedure and it had to be done in American Embassy because they did not trust Russian doctors somehow. So when I came, they asked John if he had to do any kind of a health procedure before we get married. He looked at me like I was crazy. He's like, no. I said, that is quite unfair.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, for the residency, you had to have a whole checkup as well, and then it's with doctors that they list, that the USCIS list. So it cannot be any doctor; it has to be those specific doctors. So I know the changing visas, getting different kind of visas, getting the residency is a lot of work. So to be honest with you, for me, the citizenship was just a breeze.
Agree.
It's just some questions, some questionnaire, regular. You just type it out, and it could be all online. You pay almost $1,000. So we had to talk about money. We had to talk about money as well, because every time that you change your immigration status, you had to pay.
Every time you file a form.
Anytime there is a form, you had to pay. Anyway, so for me, the citizenship was, studying for the test, it was just kind of nerve-wracking sometimes because you don't want to make a mistake. You are a PhD. How can you make a mistake in front of other people if you're a PhD professor? So, but the process was just filling out the forms and all of that was just super quick compared to all of those things that I have done.
Well, thank you all for sharing your stories. This was really great, and I hope that everyone will come in and see the exhibit and try your hand at the citizenship test, and we'll see if you get to stay.
I will try it now.
Because
I need to get ready.
May I just make a very small comment? Nowadays, because of the immigration crisis on our southern borders, a lot of people don't see humans and immigrants. And I think you have to realize people coming here are real people. They have very good values. And we have to think of them as a real important human beings, not just numbers and not a threat to American society.
Yeah, and picking up on that, as I tell my students, because we are always talking about this in our Spanish classes, don't call them illegal, call them undocumented. See? The process may be illegal, but the people are not illegal. See? And that is actually a microaggression thing to say to a person that has moved to this country and is still in the process of getting the papers.
Thank you for joining us. I hope you'll tune into the rest of our Brown Bag series that goes through May 7th.